The Menzingers are here with a brand new record, Hello Exile. The Menzingers are one of the bands that, in my opinion, are at the top of their game. They're the upper echelon as far as punk rock goes. You know, punk rock, pop punk, emo, in that whole, little nice community that exists. I think, among a few other bands, the Menzingers are at the top of that list. The Menzingers, one of my favorite bands. I've seen them, multiple times. Every time they come to Chicago, I check them out. Like many other people, the Menzingers first, came on the scene, to me at least, with 2012's On the Impossible Past. One of my favorite records of all time. It might be one of the best punk records ever released, period. I'm not saying since the 2000s. I've seen a lot of those lists pop up. I'm saying of all time. To me, that record is just flawless, On the Impossible Past. And with this new record, I've seen what the critics have had to say. I've seen what social media said. I've seen what the deep, dark Reddit subreddits have said about this record. It's been out for about a week. I've listened to it multiple times, and I gotta say, after, listening to it and, diving into interviews that the band has done, overall, I really do enjoy this record, but I think the easiest way to sum up Hello Exile is that it's really Rented World Part 2. The biggest contrast of opinions that I've seen regarding this record are that the more casual Menzingers fans, the ones that, check out a song here or there or see the band when they're at, a big festival or just listen to the songs that have, music video attached to them, whatever that case may be, really like this record. To them, it is classic Menzingers. And then when I go dive more into the hardcore Zinger fans, that this record didn't really meet their expectations of being another flawless record. And like I said, in my opinion, I think out of the entire Menzingers catalog, to me, the perfect record is On the Impossible Past. I know a lot of people love After the Party. I do too. If I had to rank them, it'd be, 1, 2, On the Impossible Past, After the Party. And I really think where the biggest disconnection that I've seen where fans have been talking about this record is that maybe they didn't really check out Rented World. I think that one really flew under the radar. You had On the Impossible Past come out and everyone praised this record. It was on every list that had anything, good to say about records that year, or punk rock records specifically that year. And then you had Rented World, which was a more somber, more emo, if you want to use that word, a more darker album than On the Impossible Past, which obviously had, was sad and had dark themes as well, but just musically, not to sound too much of like a music nerd or anything, it just was a more darker album, for example, as opposed to After the Party, which was still, had depressing lyrics or sad lyrics, but was more anthemic and more uplifting than Rented World. I don't think anybody would argue that, and that's why I think Hello Exile is just Rented World Part 2. Hello Exile does have a lot of classic Menzingers, especially here in the lyrics. Some of my favorite lyrics on the album are from High School Friend. I was getting effed up with a high school friend, wondering where all the good times went. I mean, that's just classic Menzingers in every way. And a song like Portland as well. A voice from the past, back looking for a fight. I mean, if that isn't classic Menzingers, I really don't know what is. Farewell Youth, the last song on the record, is one of the best on the entire record, in my opinion. A song about saying goodbye to youth and how to move past instead of look back, a big theme on this record. And you have the chorus, Farewell Youth, I'm afraid I hardly got to know you. I was always hanging out with the older kids. Always in a rush, but I was never sure from what. I was always hanging out with the older kids. What a way to end this record. If we step back and look at the Menzingers' entire career, I think most people look at it like this. You have A Lesson in the Abuse of Information Technology and Chamberlain Waits. Those are the punk records. The Menzingers even did an interview where they ranked their records, and they basically said that those records were them in the early years, really just trying to be the Clash. I'll have that linked down below in the description if you want to check that article out. And then you had On the Impossible Past, which is the Holy Grail, one of my favorite records, and I think a lot of people's favorite record from the Menzingers. Then you have Rented World, which was the more emo, if you want to call it that, the most somber record that the Menzingers have produced. There's a lot of great rock jams on there as well, and it's funny, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of reviews say that Hello Exile, it's the Menzingers bringing rock back, or they're a punk band, but they're also, a rock band. We can't forget about that word, punk rock, in that in that category, in that genre. But it's like those people have never listened to the Menzingers before. You're saying that Tellin' Lies from After the Party isn't a rock song, can't be played on your local alternative station, or The Talk from Rented World, or I Don't Want to Be an Asshole anymore. Menzingers have always been the perfect fusion of punk and rock. It's not like they just suddenly picked up guitars and started playing rock. That was the one thing that really just grinded my gears as far as what people have been nitpicking in reviews of this album. It's not like they were like a pop band that all of a sudden picked up guitars. Like, where that disconnect happened, or these people had just never listened to the Menzingers before. It's either one of those two. So you have Rented World, which is the most, sorry to get on that tangent. You have the Rented World, which was the more somber record, and then you had After the Party, which was probably, if we're looking back at every Menzingers record, the most upbeat of them. I know people love those first two records, and if those two records are your favorite, that's fine, but even the Menzingers rank them as, the 1 and 2 of the least favorite records that they have, and we're not going to sit here and pretend that the Menzingers didn't blow up from On the Impossible Past and then post that. I mean, that's when the Menzingers were the most popular, and like that, I mean, that's just a fact. I don't want to offend everyone who thinks those first two records are great. They have some great songs on the record, and some of the splits that the band has released even before that were great too, but I mean, those are just the facts. So you have After the Party, which is the most upbeat record, I would say, and then you have Hello Exile, which just kind of falls in the middle, and I think that's where the disconnect from most people comes. They wanted this record to be the best. They wanted it to be as good as On the Impossible Past, or as good as After the Party. I feel like most people's favorite Menzingers record are one of those two, and the truth is Hello Exile has more to do with Rented World than any other Menzingers record. It's crazy to think, but the Menzingers have absolutely defined a time period in punk rock, especially with their last 4 records. Growing up in your early 20s, in your late 20s, and dealing with your early 30s. I mean, the Menzingers have used that exact verbiage in some way on those records. And with Hello Exile, I think people just wanted After the Party too. And even as I say that, it's, what was After the Party? A lot of great upbeat punk rock songs like Tellin' Lies, for example. But even on Hello Exile, on this record, you do have that with Portland, Stain Your Memory, London Drugs probably being the best example of that. And it's, it's almost, okay, well, you have the same thing, so what's not connecting with that record and After the Party? And I've compared Rented World and Hello Exile a lot in this episode, and I think even when Rented World came out, I was like, okay, well, besides The Talk and I Don't Want to Be an Asshole Anymore, and maybe Hearts Unknown, which is one of my low-key favorite Menzingers songs, you don't have really a lot of those upbeat songs on that record, and that's where I think that comparison comes in here with a lot of the more somber songs like Last to Know or even Farewell Youth. A lot of people just haven't really come out and been like, wow, like those songs, great, this record, way better than On the Impossible Past or After the Party. If you're listening to Hello Exile, I really don't think comparing it to After the Party really makes any sense. I think it's really more of Rented World Part 2, and I've seen that Rented World isn't a lot of people's favorite Menzinger record. So if you're diving into this record or watching this review and haven't listened to Hello Exile at all, that's what I would say to you in a nice, concise way. Hello Exile is Rented World, the sequel. What did you think about the brand new Menzingers record, Hello Exile? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't, and as always, thanks for watching.